I'm Larry Huffman, and this is On Two Wheels, your one-stop source for the best Supercross racing in the history of the sport. In this episode of our series, let's join announcers Brent Weber and Bo Bach as they call the race action from the Atlanta Supercross in 1983. Now, this begins our next chapter in the history of Supercross with the introduction of Supercross to Atlanta. And as you'll see, the initial Southern influence on Supercross got just a little bit messy.
This is Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, home of the NFL Falcons and National League Atlanta Braves. Well, most of the year. Early each spring, the bulldozers arrive at the stadium, transforming the pleasant green grass into a bizarre landscape not unlike that of the moon. 700 truckloads of dirt are sculptured into a motocross course for the Super Bowl of Motocross. It happened here first in 1977. 46,000 fans watching the phenomenal new sport in Atlanta for the first time. The championship race, a battle to the wire, will almost, only 10 feet from the finish line, the favorite, Jim Pomeroy, on bike 102 stalled, and a young man named Bob Hanna, only 20 years of age, won the first Atlanta Super Bowl of Motocross. Now this is the Bob Hanna of 1982. He's back to try it again. Can he do it this time?
It's been a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Nobody can ever say in the mud. It could be anybody. Right? You get a good start, you don't fall down, you have a good luck. Even get a bad start and everybody falls down. You never can tell about a mud race.
From a cold and wet and icy and muddy Atlanta Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, this is the Miller High Life Super Bowl of Motocross. It's going to be a wet and mucky track tonight, but of course that can be excitement for a lot of fans here in Atlanta. This is Bob Neal along with Dave Despain. And Dave, that track is really something to see as we watch the practice laps. How bad is it in terms of the racing conditions?
Well, it soaked up a tremendous amount of rain here. You can defend it by pointing out that it's not the worst Atlanta track we've ever seen. It always seems to rain for this race. It's a very heavy track, it's very sloppy, and it's going to be very difficult to ride.
All right, there are 8 turns and 11 obstacles, if the mud itself wasn't enough of an obstacle on this track tonight. The biggest obstacle is the Miller Mountain, and it's really something to behold, particularly when you watch the drivers go over it. We can take a look at it right now.
Well, we get a good shot right here of the problem that they're going to be confronting. Those ruts are really going to be the difficulty. That plus the fact that the mud will slow them down. They won't get quite the leap off that jump that they'd like. The real problem, get one wheel in one rut and another wheel in the other rut, and it's a nosedive into the mud.
There are 4 qualifying heats, 2 semifinal heats, and 1 consolation race. From there will come 21 finalists for the championship event, which is a 20-lap race. Who are the top drivers you expect to be in that big one at the end of the evening?
Well, when you talk about the motocross stars of this series, you have to look first to former winners. And you've got Donnie Hansen on a real streak. He's won 2. Mark Barnett, the defending series champion, has won an event. Brock Glover very nearly got his first one 2 weeks ago in Seattle. He's a favorite. And the crowd here absolutely loves Bob Hanna, who won this race twice, including the first time back in '77.
Bob Varsha is on the sideline. He'll be watching the event's field level tonight, and he's also going to right now comment on the condition down there of the track and talk to a driver that was just in the alternate moto. Bob?
Well, it's basic mathematics is all it is. You take 700 loads of dirt and 1.5 inches of Georgia rain, and what you wind up with is a mud pie the size of a baseball diamond. With me is a fella who should know. His name is Kevin Gilchrist. He has earned his way into a qualifying moto by placing 5th in one of the pre-qualifying motos held just a few minutes ago. Kevin, what's the track like out there?
It's a real mess, mud all the way.
Is there any particular spot that's worse than the rest of it?
Well, the Honda Himalaya is going to give him a show tonight.
Okay, Kevin, thanks very much for being us. Good luck in the qualifying. So that's it. As you can see behind me, parts of this course are buried in water. The rest of it is really in fairly decent shape, so it's going to be a night full of action from Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Bob and Dave, back to you.
Mark Barnett was the 1981 winner here at the Atlanta Super Bowl of Motocross. He's doing very well again this year. We asked him a little bit earlier if he feels he can repeat in 1982.
Well, I didn't feel the 100% in Anaheim, but I've been working a little bit harder and riding a lot more, and I feel really strong for Atlanta. Since I won last year, it's kind of close to home for me, and I feel really good.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment as racing will begin on this evening. The first qualifier right after this.
We thought it might be kind of fun to give the folks at home an opportunity to see this racetrack exactly the way the rider sees it, right straight over the handlebars. Right now, let's go back to the floor of the stadium where Bob Varsha is with first heat winner Mark Barnett.
Mark, you were a part of the first race to get out there. What were those track conditions like tonight?
Well, it's not as bad as it was in practice. The track has dried out quite a bit in one area where everyone's riding, and it's pretty much a one-line track, so right now it looks like the start is going to be the main thing in the main event. Get the start, you can probably hold on to the main event, don't make any mistakes, and you can probably hold on for 20 laps, no problem.
80 motocross riders began this night. Now there are only 21, and 20 laps from now, there will be only one. We're going to check on the condition of this muddy, mucky track here at Atlanta Stadium. Bob Varsha, how's it look field side?
Bob, believe it or not, the consistency of the track down here is actually getting better. It's drying out some. It's a lot less gooey than it was in the early going. As you can see, it's about the consistency of thick toothpaste right now. The driver's main concern as they go into this final is not going to be so much the dirt that they're riding through, is at finding the line. There have been 4, 5, 6, 7 races thus far that has created a line all the way around this track that 21 riders are all going to want to have to themselves, and we're going to see a lot of action as they try and get into it.
Dave Despain, there's a shot of the riders right on the starting line. What's the key element of strategy as they're about ready to start this championship event?
The start, Bob, is absolutely critical. We've seen tonight what can happen in that first turn. You want to get through that and get out front. If you get tangled up in the first turn, then you've got to just charge. Grab every bit of real estate you can and hang on to it.
All right, ready to go. They're dropping the starting gate, and they are off. It's a good start.
Oh, look out. Bob Hanna's got a hole shot, and that means trouble for the rest of these guys.
Right around the first turn, a couple of riders are having some problems there, but it looked like Bob Hanna did get out to a clear lead.
The very first turn tangle of which we spoke just a moment ago, Hanna was gone by the time that all happened back behind him, and these guys are in trouble. It's been a long time since Bob Hanna, who's not known as a good starter, has had this kind of start, and with a clear track in front of him, he's going to be tough to catch. Donnie Hansen running in the second spot. Remember, he's a two-time winner of the series so far, and he's close at this moment.
Bob Hanna had a little bit of problem even getting into the qualification earlier in the evening, but he seemed to have made some adjustment. Is out to a pretty good start here, and we've got Donnie Hansen, number 7, second, but number 4, yellow, in the Yamaha. We've got Hurricane Bob Hanna in the lead.
Hanna is the only man ever to win this race twice. If he can do it tonight, he'll be the only 3-time winner of this event ever. And a quick word about Mark Barnett. He got tangled up in that first turn melee, and so the defending champion of this race is way back in the pack.
He raced well earlier tonight. He won his qualifying heat. We'll keep our eye on number 1, Mark Barnett. He's way back right now. Here are the top 6 as we go into the early moments. Number 2 is number 7 right there, the second rider in the race. That's Donnie Hansen. In third place place is number 53, Spencer Morrison. Fourth place is number 3, Ken Howerton. In fifth place, number 33, Denny Bentley. And number 6, Brock Glover, is in sixth place. But there's the leader, Hurricane Bob Hanna, and he looks very smooth early in the race.
That's one of the keys to getting around this kind of a racetrack effectively. It's very rough. It's very muddy. There are a tremendous number of places out there where you can get in trouble. And the trick is to be able to smooth out the rough stuff, find the easiest line through it. It not only saves wear and tear on the bike, it saves your body. It reduces the risk of crashing. It makes it the fast way to go.
It's a 5/8 of a mile track, remember, and on a dry track, these riders would be getting around in a minute or less. Tonight, they've been getting around this track in about a minute 15, a minute 12, so we'll keep an eye on the speed. The track has been drying out a bit as the 7 previous races have, of course, loosened the dirt, dried it just a bit, and right now, Bob Hanna finding the tracks very well, getting around with a lot of ease. A wide view of the track shows that they're starting to stretch out a bit, Dave.
You see how much Hanna is leading, and you can also see some of the combat going on for positions further back in the pack. This track has changed dramatically, and that's one of the things that happens in Supercross competition, where you have, in effect, an artificial racetrack, a man-made course. Then when you soak it with this much water, it becomes very unpredictable. The ability to read the changes has been one of the keys for Hanna here tonight. He's got the lines down. Everybody else is struggling a little bit. This is Ken Howerton. Now, he's coming back off knee surgery, and he's trying to move up through the pack. This is the best ride that we've seen him turn in this year. It takes a long time with an injury like that to the legs, which are the shock absorbers of motocross. And he's looking pretty strong. He's around his teammate Denny Bentley there, and is moving up through traffic.
He's right behind. Number 3, Howerton, is right behind number 53, Morrison. He's in third place. Howerton is fourth. He's number 3. And number 33, his teammate Denny Bentley, is in fifth place. And number 6, Brock Glover, is in sixth place right now. Howerton riding quite well, though.
Spencer Morrison there, number 53, also deserves a call. This is by far the best Supercross performance that he's ever turned in. As we were saying, Bob Hanna, not known as a great starter. What made him famous in Supercross, as he dominated this series for 3 years before he suffered his own leg injury, was his patented charge through traffic. He'd start back in the middle of the pack somewhere and then just pick them off 3 and 4 riders a lap and go right to the front. The crowds loved it. Tonight he got the whole shot. In any motocross race, that's the way to go.
Dave, this is a 20-lap championship event, so even though Hurricane Bob Hanna is way out in front right now, once in a little while he's going to start catching up to the rest of the pack. There's number 2, Donnie Hansen, who's wearing number 7. He's a second-place rider right now. But once Hanna starts catching up and lapping the pack, he should run into some traffic problems.
That's always a problem in tight competition like this. It's a difficult course on which to pass, even if you're passing a rider who's a lap down. Got a big interval already from first to second. Hanna, I think, has opened up about 10 or 11 seconds here. And this early in the race, that's just a runaway. That's a rout.
And here he comes right now, already lapping number 25 with Chris Bigelow. So you can see that Hanna has already lapped the field and is now starting to expand that lead, the interval of lead, as you said, as Hurricane Bob Hanna on his Yamaha, the winner back in 1977 of the first Atlanta Super Bowl of Motocross, seems to be shooting for it once again here tonight at Atlanta Stadium in the Miller High Life Super Bowl of Motocross. Good crowd tonight, despite the very bad weather. They've seen some pretty good racing, and they're still enthusiastic here even as we grow late into the evening.
These fans are so loyal. They love the sport, and in Atlanta, they particularly love Bob Hanna. And I think they're seeing tonight, I think we're all feeling tonight, that this somehow is the return of Bob Hurricane Hanna. He's won some races since his comeback, since his injury, but I don't think he's ever demonstrated the fire and the drive and the ability to just take hold of a stadium, take hold of an event, take hold of the rest of that field and dominate it like we're seeing him do tonight. This is a real turning point, I think, in this young man's career. This is your third, fourth, and fifth place battle here. Spencer Morrison being chased by Ken Howerton. And look at Daryl Schultz charging up alongside Howerton. He's really on the move. He's so aggressive. That's third, fourth, fifth positions that you're seeing there. Schultz banging to the inside of Howerton to move up another spot. Spencer Morrison continues to be one of the marvels in here. And with Bob Hanna leading, let's get an idea of how the rest of that top 10 look.
All right, it looks like it's Hanna, Hansen, Morrison, Howard, and Schultz has moved up. Bentley's dropped back a bit. Then in 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place right now, as we look at our leader, we have in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, Glover, O'Mara, Ellis, and Mark Barnett. And Mark Barnett is starting to make some kind of move, Dave.
He is really charging around this racetrack. Remember, Barnett started virtually last in this race, not at the starting gate itself, but after that tangle that we saw in the first turn, Barnett was the real victim there. He was way back at the pack, but he's making a charge, and the man he's trying to catch is Bob Hanna, the leader. Oh, look at this.
Let's see if we can get the number of that rider. He seems to be okay and is up and at it already, but what a spill as he came over Miller Mountain.
They got a little closer look at that Atlanta mud than I know he would have liked right there. He's okay. These are tough cats. They really are.
And there's Bob Hanna taking that turn again, his leg out in front of him there, and what condition these athletes are in. Remember, it's a 20-lap race, and Bob Hanna continues to lead with relative ease.
No doubt about it. He's in command right now. The problems that he has to confront, one possible mechanical problem. Here's Donnie Hansen.
He's got to confront that problem.
Yeah, that could very well be a problem before he's over. This kid's won 2 already this year, remember, 2 out of the 3 races in the series. Hanna has an excellent mechanic in Cheese McCarthy. Keith McCarthy builds the motorcycles for Hanna. He doesn't have very many failures. The other problem is that lap rider problem that you mentioned earlier, Bob. That could be the hang-up here for Bob Hanna.
Well, as we watch Bob Hanna continue to be relatively easily in the lead, so there we've got a problem, and that is, I think, Scott Morrison.
Yeah, that's Morrison. He was running so well. The kid on the Husqvarna really having his moment. Here's Barnett continuing to charge. Spencer Morrison's out of it. That's going to move Barnett up another spot, but he's not waiting for somebody else to dictate his fate. He's out there passing people. Boy, he's going fast.
Just a few minutes ago, Barnett was in 10th place. He looks like he's probably making better time on the track maybe than anybody right now, and looks like he's really moving up fast. There goes Bob Hanna, our leader, and he was just lapping number 23, David Bailey, and now he is starting to get into some heavy traffic. But thus far, as you can just take a look, you don't have to be a motocross expert to see that Bob Hanna's leg injury has healed. He seems to be a part of his machinery and riding very smoothly.
The kid, when he came up, was the real natural phenomenon. Everybody talked about him. This is Hansen, who is the emerging phenomenon of 1982 with 2 victories in the first 2 races. He's always been kind of a conservative, not a real flashy kind of a guy, and then all of a sudden, bang, out of nowhere, he starts winning races. Tonight, I'm impressed with the fact that he's not panicked with Hanna out front.
And here comes number 1 again. Barnett looks like he's making a charge. Remember, he was way back in the pack. He was 10th a few minutes ago, and now continues to climb in the standings. He's getting up toward the leaders.
He is indeed. He's catching Darrell Schultz. Schultz is going to be a handful. There's number 20 just making that turn. Then a lap rider, then Barnett, and that means that he's up there contending for 4th position. That's remarkable.
And you just saw that number 3, Ken Howerton, was behind Barnett. So Barnett has moved up into 4th place the way we have it right now, behind number 20, Darrell Schultz.
Very, very impressive for Barnett. He's the only guy out there who's just passing people at will. Keep in mind that he started about 20th. He's passed 16 people. There was Hanna avoiding one of those potential collisions or confrontations with a lap rider. He kept himself out of trouble. He's still in good shape.
So it now looks as though Bob Hanna's in first place. We've got number 7, Donnie Hansen, in 2nd, Schultz in 3rd, and Mark Barnett has come from nowhere to get into 4th position. And even though Hansen's 2nd, you know, Bob Hanna may have to be thinking about that old number 1 bike back in 4th place.
One of the things that these guys do is get a lot of signals from their pit crew. Every lap they get indications of how fast they're going, who's coming up. And my guess would be that somewhere along the way, Hanna's gotten the word that Barnett's making a charge.
Well, we've got a lot of cold spectators out here at Atlanta Stadium. In Atlanta, Georgia, a very unusual night as we take a look at Darrell Schultz, who's right now in 3rd place, being marked very closely by Mark Barnett. It's about 35 degrees right now. Oh, we almost lost Darrell Schultz. Look at him, hang on. I'll tell you what I call these guys, motorized cowboys. Looked like he was about to be bucked off that Bronco.
Meanwhile, here's Hanna heading for the white flag right there, indicating one more lap of this racetrack, and he's got this one well in hand.
It's just 5/8 of a mile.
11 obstacles, 8 turns. But anything can happen in this sport. And Dave Despain, we don't want to forget that all these guys get points on this, whether you're first, second, third, or fourth. And of course, Hansen and Schultz are the leaders coming into tonight's event.
Right, and Hanna is going to just muscle his way right up into the thick of that point battle. Team Honda had been the dominant force early in the series, and it looked like they were going to run away with the thing. Bob Hanna tonight has said nuts to that, and he's got his yellow Yamaha right in the thick of this. It's going to be a good series.
All right, we've got Bob Hanna in first place, Donnie Hansen in second place, Schultz in third place, and it moved up all the way from 10th place. Mark Barnett right now number 4 in the top 4 in this event tonight. They'll be getting from 25 to 18 points for those first 4 places. And Bob Hanna continues to run. He's right on the tail now of number 60, Jimmy Ellis. May have to get past him before he gets that checkered flag.
Bob's not taking any chances as he whips into the final series of turns here. He knows he's headed for home.
There it is, the checkered flag. And you heard the crowd. Hurricane Bob Hanna, the winner of the 1982 Super Bowl of Motocross. And there is number 7, Donnie Hansen. He's got one more turn, and he'll get number 2.
That's an important second-place finish for Hansen. It will consolidate his lead in the series point standings. He will be number 1 in the rankings.
And Hansen gets the checkered flag over on Miller Mountain. So the winner here tonight at Atlanta Stadium, a lot of cold but loyal fans, was number 4, Bob Hanna, getting the victory tonight, and a very big victory it was, as it'll move him up into the thick of the race for the Supercross point standings after 4 rounds in this year's series.
Hansen will take second. Darrell Schultz coming home third. Mark Barnett, your fourth-place finisher. Ken Howerton held on very nicely to take fifth.
All right, let's go down trackside now to Bob Hanna, the winner, who's talking to our Bob Varsha.
You sprained an ankle not too long ago. Did that affect you much in the competition tonight?
I thought it would. I did it last weekend. We've taped it up really good, and I just really wanted to get through the night without twisting it where I could get it better for next weekend, and I did. I didn't twist it at all. I'm just glad I did.
Your victory here tonight is going to tighten up the point standing considerably. Do you think with another race or two you may be back on the winning track for keeps?
I think so. I think in the next 3 Supercross races, I think I ought to be able to pull into the lead.
All right, Bob, welcome back to Atlanta. Great race. You obviously thrilled the crowd here. Best of luck in Daytona next week.
County Stadium, where tonight the 4th event of the 1983 Supercross Series, the Miller High Life Super Bowl of Motocross here in Atlanta. I'm Brent Weber. Bo Bach is along with me, and Bo, tonight we've got a lot of riders that are running at the top of the heat from Honda, looking like it so far this season has been a Honda season.
Well, the obstacle tonight is for the other 3 Japanese teams to try and catch Honda. Of course, Honda is running away with the series, copying wins in the first 3 events. Don't forget, this year there's going to be a Grand National Champion in motocross racing for the first time. They're going to combine the 250, 500cc national champions as well as the Supercross winners and have for the first time a Grand National Champion. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be hell's a-popping out here in just a few minutes, Brent.
It is looking awfully dark. It is not supposed to look this dark at this time, but it is. It's dark. The drizzling is starting to come down. We're looking for an awfully wet night of racing. And you hear behind us, they're getting ready to get cranked up from Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. We'll be back with the start of Super Bowl Motocross in Atlanta right after this. Welcome back to the Miller High Life Super Bowl of Motocross. During tonight's qualifying heats, Bo Bach talked to Hurricane Hanna and some of the other riders about the possibility of bad weather and what effect it will have on tonight's action.
You're known for your aggressiveness. Does this rain damper that?
Yeah, it makes it a little harder for all of us. It's the same for everybody, but it makes it difficult. You know, you can't see your goggles and slipper in the tires, so it's bad. A little muddy.
In this condition, if the rain continues, it will become slippery. But previous years, we've had real cold weather, rainy weather, and all the way through the racing, and the tracks have just been a quagmire, full of mud and very hard to ride on. And the machines get very heavy; they get laid with mud, and all. It's tough. It's a lot harder, but it changes your strategy.
How do you run in the wet?
Not too good usually, but I'm hoping this is going to be my night. I know I can do it in the mud.
I think it'll affect everyone, but I think our bikes are. They're one of the fastest out there, so I think that'll be a big advantage. If it gets muddy, you know, all the mud going on the bikes, sometimes they weigh 30, 40 pounds more, so I think our bikes can pull that a lot better than the other bikes.
If they get the races going quick and keep the dirt turning up, it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, but as long as they don't get the grooves in the jumps.
Yeah, like last year, it rained before the race, and now we've already practiced, so we've got the track already made in, and the rain shouldn't really hurt it too bad.
All the jumps are pretty aggressive style jumps. You can really make some time all the way around this track. I think it's going to be a little bit different with the mud out there.
I think when they first laid it out, it didn't look as though there were any doubles, but a lot of guys were trying them out in practice.
Well, a lot of guys knew they were there, but they didn't want to do it until someone else did it, or say the conditions change like this. There's no sense in taking a chance on doubling a jump when it might get muddy, and then you won't be able to do it. So there's a lot of strategy involved also. We all knew that one double jump was possible.
That's how some of the riders felt about the jumps and the track coming into tonight's opening heats. And with rain beginning to fall at the start of competition, the riders in the early heats began to adjust to the oncoming bad weather, as 32 men qualified for the upcoming semis. In qualifier number 1, Honda's David Bailey, one of tonight's favorites, surprised no one by jumping to the hole shot. But as the race wore on, Kawasaki's Jeff Ward and his aggressive riding on the dampened track made it a two-man heat.
He's taking a double, trying to catch Bailey.
And he's closing the gap. Bailey cutting in tight on the turn. And as they gun across the big Miller Mountain, Ward taking it a little bit higher, trying to take the double, as Bailey maintaining that inside cut. Not going to give him any chance as far as taking the inside bow, but Ward is taking that hill and getting the chance for the doubles. And we might have, coming around this last stretch for that flag, might see Ward try to take him on that last opportunity with those three before they go into the final turn.
Well, if he does, he'll have to close down on his hairpins. Bailey is squaring them off, and Ward is going a little wide, and even though he's making up time on the jumps, Bailey's losing them coming out of these hairpin turns, such as right here.
Both men handled it pretty well on the whoop-de-doos, but Ward took it a little wide on the hairpin. Bailey out in front. He's going to pass a lapper there. A double there. Another beautiful double by Ward. He is really coming on strong as we're coming up the Miller Mountain for the white flag.
Final lap. Look at Bailey turn it on the straightaway.
Now you're going to see just what kind of power these Hondas have. David Bailey out in front. Ward has tried to make the move. He has been the more spectacular, taking more chances in this first heat. But that's what having the whole shot does. You can take those tight turns, not take too many chances. There's Ward. You saw him getting closer. He takes a double there. Ward with a lot of air time, seeing a lot of action from up top, but he's watched the back of David Bailey through this entire first heat. As the rain is coming down, they're coming around the next to last whoop-de-doos, and it is going to be a neck-to-neck finish. Ward is trying to take it in tight. Bailey hugging that curve through the final whoop-de-doos of this first heat. Watch for the double. Here comes Ward. He's lost some ground, and he doesn't get it. Ward lost something going up to that hill, and it looks like Bailey is going to take the checkered flag. David Bailey takes the checkered flag on heat number 1. Jeff Ward will come in second. Coming around in third, Eric Kehoe on a Honda.
You can be the best rider out there, and if you have some type of a bad break in the first couple laps, you can ride as fast as you can, you can be going faster than the leader, and you'll never make up that time because it's just a freight train. But this track so far is the best one yet. It's got a lot of lines for passing. The rain's going to change that some, but there's still no excuse if you can't pass a rider who's faster.
Honda Speed continued to make them the team to beat. In qualifier number 2, it looked like there would be no surprises as 1982 winner Bob Hurricane Hanna jumped in front on his Honda. But Hanna's teammate, 19-year-old Kenny Keelan, looked ready to pull the first major upset of the night when he slipped past a stalled Hurricane in the early going. It appeared as though number 19, Kenny Keelan was going to sail over the whoop-de-doos to his first victory.
One thing you've got to remember about these early motos where we've had a couple of spills is that the riders practiced in the dry, and now it's wet and they may not be used to it. Hurricane looked as though he was going to pass him, then went high on the berm, using that same technique as Jeff Ward, looking as though he's trying to get some momentum, get his revs up for a double.
Both times Kenny Keelan has jumped out in front of him and has cut off that double.
Final lap now.
They're coming around, going over some of those tough mountains, and let's see if they're affected at all on this last lap by the sand.
I think Hurricane Hannah got a little more height than he wanted on that last jump.
They want to try in this weather, especially with the humidity, not to get in the air too much. And we're having some overtaking maybe coming down around the back. Hannah and Keelan, we've got a big pileup. And Keelan was knocked out. Keelan is down. He's going to get back on his bike. Glover passes him. Keelan gets it started. He wants to finish in the 8th. And Hurricane Hannah is in front, and he will probably take the checkered flag. He's looking back. He knows he's got plenty of room, but he's looking back to make sure that his teammate is all right.
Tough break for Kenny Keelan, but that's what the pressure of Hurricane Hannah does to a rider.
And Keelan will probably now finish out of the 8th. He will have to work his way back through. We've got the white flag now. We've got one more lap to go.
And Kenny Keelan went down again going through the whoop-de-doos, but it's just amazing the kind of pressure that Hurricane Hannah can apply.
There's Hurricane, and he just simply has to ride the storm out. Brock Glover is on his heels, but nowhere near close enough. It would take the same type of thing that happened to the youngster, Kenny Keelan, for Hannah to lose it. You saw him go for the 2 there. Around the back, and here comes a Hurricane wanting to take the checkered.
A slower rider getting in his way.
Hannah.
Hurricane Hannah knowing he hasn't wrapped up, but not wanting to fool around going through the whoop-de-doos.
And I think the problem back there that occurred when Keelan lost it, a squid, one of the slower riders, I believe, caused that pileup that knocked Kenny out of the lead. Here comes a Hurricane. Watch him go. Hurricane standing high, taking the checkered flag in heat number 2.
Can't remember the track, can't memorize the track. Every moto is a different story, so it's going to be tough. Be good for me, though.
In the 3rd qualifier, 1981 Supercross champion Mark the Bomber Barnett issued Honda a warning. With frightening consistency on his Suzuki, he showed the form that made him victorious in Atlanta 2 years ago.
Mark Barnett is 4th on the all-time list of motocross wins in U.S. history.
Barnett takes the white flag. That means one more time around the old infield. And we can see just how strong this field is shaping up as he will advance to the semis if he can hang on to that strong Suzuki right now.
Well, he's going to conserve some energy here. In fact, he almost conserved too much right there. Lost a little power, missed the shift, missed the downshift, and he's going to try to ease it on in here and conserve some energy.
He did the same on that sand pit back there, and Steve Martin, not quite on his heels, looking over his shoulder a little bit. He won't be able to catch up. He'll simply run out of time on this 8-lap qualifier. It'll send him to the semis. As he's coming around, we've got one more whoop-de-doo. You're going to see him take a sharp right out of that berm and Mark the Bomber Barnett over those whoop-de-doos, which are getting worn down pretty good. They're getting knocked off and flattened out. Barnett looking for it, looking for the checkered, and here he comes, the Bomber, followed by Steve Martin on a Honda and Barnett's Suzuki teammate, Alan King.
Well, it's getting a little bit slicker out there, and the ruts are getting deeper. He's had a lot different practice. I went out and checked it out, and just took the win. That's all that matters right now.
We are getting ready on this muddy track for the semifinal heat number 1, and it is a mess.
This is very, very important to start because you have to have consistent throttle, and you can't give it too much gas. Otherwise, you're going to be slip-sliding all over this track.
Well, if these mountains have been turned into molehills, and this is going to peak David Bailey, Hurricane Bob Hanna, and a host of other top riders, Jeff Ford out in front with them. Let's see who comes out with a hole shot. Aaron Pitts, how about that? Aaron Pitts comes out of the gate with a hole shot.
Well, David Bailey's passed him on the inside. Just a superb ride to that first turn, to that first hairpin. It was absolutely sensational, and now he's opening it up on Jeff Ward, who's in the number 2 position. Then there's Bob Hurricane Hanna, and Ward's going to have his work cut out for him holding off Hurricane. In fact, Hurricane just took him on the Miller Mountain. There he goes by him.
That mountain is becoming a mess, and it is just a wild clop up. You saw the 2 and 3 men, Hanna and Ward, tie it up in that berm there, and it is a mess, and they are really having to show experience out here now.
Hurricane showed just how great he was, because he could have stalled there and been in a mess of trouble, but he's out solid in the number 3 position. He'll be putting the pressure on Jeff Ward again as David Bailey opens it up. It looks as though the rain is favoring his consistency, his technique, which is so smooth. He's so subtle on that machine.
Well, the men you expect to be there, David Bailey, number 11 on his Honda right there. And behind him, number 9, Jeff Ward on the Kawasaki. And right on Ward's tracks is Bob Hurricane Hanna.
And that last anglement with Hurricane Hanna and Jeff Ward could have given Bailey the heat, but now here comes Hurricane passing Jeff Ward into the hairpin. He passed him through the whoop-de-doos where he is so tough. Bailey having trouble. Bailey having trouble on the jumps. He's trying to be smooth and not perhaps taking it as aggressively as he possibly can.
Well, we're seeing him go over the Miller Mountain, which has become
a Bailey's down.
Mess, and Bailey's down. Bailey is down. He is passed now by Hanna. Bailey's back up, so now it's Hanna and Bailey. What a wild, muddy, gnarly mess this track has become.
There's a good shot of the ruts that have developed in those jumps now, and you can't lose sight of those ruts as you approach the jump. Otherwise, you'll lose control. You want to follow that groove.
And I tell you, Hurricane, who sustained that serious injury a couple of years ago in a water skiing incident, is thankful for that water skiing experience right now.
He's changed his style a little bit as he goes through the hairpins. We started to mention before, he's not going high on the berms now. He's just being very conservative, just trying to get through the turns and protect his lead.
David Bailey still trying to come in at number 2 spot. All of them packed in mud. And here comes a Hurricane. He's looking to come over that Miller Mountain, looking for the checkered flag. There it is for Hurricane Hanna.
And a wave for the crowd.
Hurricane loves every minute of it in rain, snow, sleet, hail, hurricane, or tornado. Hanna is still tops in the field.
I don't know who'll win. You know, Bailey's tough, O'Mara's tough, and I'm not too shabby myself, so it's going to be a Honda in there, I know that.
5 seconds to the start of the second semi, and the start is so very, very important.
Watch Mark Burnett, number 2, see if he can come out. Skipping in front, look at that Johnny O show.
Johnny O show going for it.
O'Mara did that while sliding in the mud, and we got already a spill on that second hairpin. But they've come out of it all right.
Johnny gets out unscathed. There's a pile up coming out of that first whoop-de-doo.
Steve Martin is right up in the pack. He's in the 3rd spot right now, and Johnny O'Mara.
Oh, Johnny O having trouble getting up that Miller Mountain. Now he's helping himself. He almost stalled coming out of there.
Watch Mark Burnett. Look at him go. Mark Burnett passes him. The Suzuki and the Honda going neck and neck here in the second semi. They're trading leads back and forth.
And Johnny O'Mara and Mark Barnett, no strangers to one another, have battled each other tooth and nail in the 125cc series for years.
The Bomber Barnett and the GOAT. GOAT is back, but Johnny O show is out in front. Number 4, O'Mara, and you've got to give him credit for taking a great hole shot out at the beginning and coming out of that second hairpin mess out in front. Barnett trying to regain that championship, which lost him last year. He finished 2nd in the Supercross series, is now ranked 3rd in the overall point standing, and the man out in front, Johnny O'Mara, is right behind him in the all-time standing, in the season standings, but is out in front in this semifinal.
And Johnny O'Mara who you're looking at right now, took a trip to Sweden last year and won the Swedish Grand Prix in the 125cc event.
And Alan King on his Suzuki is in 3rd place, and he's giving Mark Burnett a little bit of a problem in there.
If Johnny O'Mara can just be consistent now, he'll be tough to catch in this wet.
There you see they're having a lot of a lot more difficulty coming over that Miller Mountain. And look at him throwing a little smoke out there, getting into it. And Johnny Osho, look at that, Johnny O'Mara lost it for a minute. The feet left the pegs, he hit a cog and was able to keep it rolling.
They're starting now to get a little bit of height on those jumps.
You see Ross Peterson, he's having a problem on the back side of that Miller Mountain. And look at that rut. That is a huge rut the size of the biker, of the riders. Johnny O missed right by that one. He's showing the ability to go by it, but look at, here comes Barnett.
Barnett passing him. Johnny missed the groove on that jump just before. There goes Barnett. Barnett looks much more at home, much more at ease in the slop.
What a move by Barnett to move by. He brought the crowd alive.
Well, he may not be as quick in this semi as Hurricane Hannah was in the first. We don't know. It's tough to tell at this point.
King cutting it around. The white flag has been waved.
Now a Suzuki 1-2 in this one.
And as it goes across to catch the checkered flag, you saw it. Mark Barnett, the bomber, in second place. Also on the Suzuki, Alan King.
It's pretty hard to pass in this stuff, and I was getting some pressure from third, so I said, well, I better go for it because I don't want to. I was getting tired eating some mud, so I just went for it and worked out good.
The Miller High Life Super Bowl of Motocross final heat is going to be underway right about now. The mud is flying. Let's see who comes out in front. Already we've had a spill almost. Several riders have caught it up, and who's going to come out? It looks like Honda.
David Bailey.
David Bailey out in front and right on his trails.
And Hurricane Hannah is down, Brent, excuse me.
Hannah is down, and Steve Martin is in second.
Hannah is up again, and he's negotiating the first of those jumps. He's still got to be watched.
Hannah is way back in the pack. He's got 10, 15 more to come up.
Look at David Bailey open it up. He's done a sensational job with the hole shot all evening long. Now it'll be interesting to see if he can hold it. He doesn't know that Hurricane Hannah went down, and he's got to be thinking he's right on his tail.
Well, Steve Martin, Honda as well, is close to his tail, but the key, Hurricane Hannah, is back in the pack. And look at Bailey through that muck and that mess, that sea of mud.
It looks like a parting of the Red Sea there.
And back on the Miller Mountain, off our screen, riders sliding down the side. Look there at Mike Barnett.
Barnett has taken first place as David Bailey stalled. Again, the lead. The lead has foiled him.
Bailey dropped into a huge puddle of that mud, and Mark Barnett, the bomber, 1981 champion, third right now in the Supercross standings, making a bid to take over that lead. He's got 3 hills coming up right now to take. He's the man in the lead. There you see him. The whoop-de-doos, the next thing he's got to tackle, and you see how they're clogging him down. He's just pushing his way through, kicking his way through. Mark Barnett, the bomber on the Suzuki. He's probably trained in some of this mud at his grandmother's farm in Lonley, Alabama. And right now it is paying off. Came into this third in the Supercross. And now, looking to take that checkered flag. He's finished those whoop-de-doos. He's going over those last 3 mountains. The white flag is going over to everybody else. He's going to take the last berm before the checker. Here he comes. Mark Barnett ready to take the black and white at this Atlanta Super Bowl of Motocross. The bomber, Mark Barnett, over the Miller High Life Mountain, is the winner and champion of the 1983 Miller High Life Super Bowl of Motocross in Atlanta, Georgia.
Through the mud, the blood, and the beer, Atlanta got its first taste of the exciting sport of Supercross. Join me next time as we continue our journey through the history of Supercross on 2 wheels. I'm your host, Larry Huffman. Thanks for joining us.